This podcast's going to be like the Smiths' most depressing album of all time greatest hits.
I was worried where you were going with that one there.
Aye, the Smiths in collaboration with Adele, Lewis Capaldi, and fucking any other depressing fucking music star that you can think of.
Hello, we are the boo. I better not go there.
You better no. When's the next game?
I've closed it down. That's the game we're going to. Aye,
of course it is. Right.
You got me flummoxed here.
Fuck, aye, so what?
I'm just tired. I can't be bothered. You can legally touch the ball with. I'll say that again. It's not a legal part of the body that you can touch with your ball. Touch with your ball.
See, you is on the brain 24/7. It's shocking.
Who's the donkey that went to Holland?
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.
Manchester, brace yourself. Rangers are coming!
Hi everyone and welcome to the next episode of the Are You Ready podcast. As ever, I'm your host Derek and with me is my co-host Dave. How are you doing, Dave?
Derek, I am back from holiday, back to rain, back to work tomorrow, and nothing has changed when it comes to how poor Rangers have been in the league, especially away from home, and things just seem to be getting worse. So, happy return to Dave.
Happy return to me as well, because I'm also back my holidays as well. Dave, you had to do one better and stay a wee bit longer as well. But yeah, it was been an absolute shit show, really. That's all you can really say. One good performance and result that we've got to cover tonight. We're not going to go into the games in great depth because we're absolutely scunnered with it. Absolutely
really
scunnered.
are.
Yes.
As I think 99.9% of Rangers fans out there are as well, Derek. So yes, you fire away and I will follow your lead on that one.
So, without further ado, we will go down the tunnel and onto the pitch. So before we get into that, I went on holiday first. Dave followed me, but the day before I travelled, I taken my 6.5-year-old daughter to her first ever game at Ibrox. It was the women's game where they drew 1 each with Glasgow City, so a really poor result that there, given the fact that Glasgow City are one of the two rivals. Yeah. You know, my daughter loved meeting Broxy. She loved the whole stadium. Hated the game. She lasted 20 minutes and walked out.
Welcome to life, supporting Rangers, Derek. You just let her know. See, recently, it doesn't get any better at all, does it?
No, absolutely not. You know, I thought I would take her to a women's game because I kind of expected she wasn't going to last. She is still quite young, so yeah. Taking her to a women's game, there wasn't a lot of fans there, and obviously we're in Spain, wasting a lot of money as well. But even though there was maybe only a few hundred fans there, she hated the noise straight away, so she was upset with that. She wanted to leave after 20 minutes, so I was like, fine. As soon as we were walking through the concourse to go to the exit, Daddy, can I get a hot dog first before I go? So
you got stung for that as well.
There was another £600 down the drain, but yeah, never mind. We'll maybe try again at another time. Well,
Derek, the scariest thing for me when I took my son to his first game, it was just before all the troubles in 2012, so he can't really remember much. And going now for all the years, he's now 18. And when I ask him who's the best player that he's ever seen play for Rangers, his answer is probably James Tavernier, and I'm scraping the barrel. And I thought to myself, that's really quite sad. So that's the state of affairs for the young ones these days. But I'm glad that your daughter got to sample Ibrox and got to see the stadium with you as well. At least it's something that you'll remember as well. Remember our first game and stuff like that. So I know, quality stuff.
Yes. So the next day we went on holiday, and when I was flying back on the Sunday, that's when the Kilmarnock game was, which was on Sunday the 20th of October. It was a 1-0 loss away as well. That was in the Premiership. Dave, you got to see the game, but we're not going to cover it at all because you've got no notes, and it was an absolute shambles.
First of all, Derek, I got to watch it in the Bluebell Bar in Tenerife, so I said I would give him a wee shout out. Thank you to Craig for arranging the seats for myself and my son and my father-in-law, who has difficulties getting it in and out as usual. It was first class. We had a great time in the pub. We had a few drinks, and that was basically about as good as it got, because we're not going to go into the game, Derek, but I can honestly say, and I've watched some of it back after that, I was so annoyed after the game, because I genuinely, and I'm being serious here, that is one of, if not the worst performance that I have seen, especially this season, and that's including the Celtic game and the Lyon game, because at least in certain parts of those two games, we were having a go. It just never happened in that game whatsoever. It was the most lacklustre performance that I've seen. Definitely Philippe Clement's worst performance from his team since he's been there, and it just offered absolutely nothing. And there's no highlights to talk about whatsoever. I can't remember a single thing that we did well. It was just absolutely dreadful. Kilmarnock were equally as bad, but they managed to get a goal, and that's basically all that we can say about the game. Just absolute turgid, dreadful stuff.
There could be no excuses at this point. Kilmarnock were, at the time, I think, sitting in the bottom 3 or bottom 4, so yeah, no excuses for it whatsoever.
No, none at all. It was just so poor from us, and I think that the rest of the fans were all, that was just the sort of starting to boil over with the way that the team's been playing recently.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the next game, which was Thursday, the 24th of October. It was a 4-0 win at home against FCSB in the Europa League. So, Dave, an actual properly good performance and a great result from the team as well.
It was a great result, I must admit, Derek. I don't think, and again, I hate being negative towards the team. They won 4-0 in Europe at home. That's a fantastic result, and we scored some really good goals. We had a huge let-off very early in the game with a cock-up that Jack Butland made, which their goal really should have stood at the score, which might have changed the way that the game panned out. But they got over that, and they scored some good goals and got a great result. I don't think the opposition were up to much, to be perfectly honest with you, but we will take that result every day of the week when we're playing in Europe. And as you say, a highlight in these troubled times that we're having.
Yes. Just to kind of quickly go over the game, obviously you mentioned the mess up by Butland. I don't know what he's playing at. He was trying to be smart. He got passed back the ball. He was just dallying on the ball. He got robbed of the ball quite easily. The player rounded him. The referee gives a free kick, and the goal didn't stand. There was a huge let-off, because for me it was never a foul. Yes, was there a wee slight nick of him on the feet? Yes, there was, but not enough to make him go down the way he did. So I don't know what the referee was playing at. I don't know what Butland was playing at even more so. The referee apparently apologised to the Stour manager afterwards, saying that he blew for the foul and they should have just let VAR pick it up. And certainly we got let off with one there. Butland has been an absolute shambles this season, I think. Yes, he's had some big saves. Last night he had a couple of big saves as well. But generally, he's went from a £20 million player to, you'll be lucky if you get a few million for him now, because he's just woeful.
It's not just him, Derek. I think it's the effect of the whole team and the way that everything's going now. Standards have dropped, including the players that we look for to be our sort of leaders in the team and to show to be better. It's dropped that much that it's now affecting the likes of him, and he's like the first person on the team sheet, you know, and the first person that every Rangers fan out there would say, who's your best player? Vast majority of folk would say Jack Butland. So, I mean, it's even affecting him as well. So, he really got off lightly on that one and got away with it big time, as did we. But thankfully, we went on from there. We pushed on from there, and it was really good to see at that stage, considering how bad we'd played a few days before against Kilmarnock.
Yep. On the 10th minute, we went 1-0 up with Lawrence scoring. The ball was on the right, flicked up by the defender, out to Tavernier, who has a great touch. A pass down the right to Czerny, who looks up. A lovely cut back to Lawrence on the edge of the box, and a lovely bending shot, which the keeper pushes in off the post. Maybe a wee bit of fortune that there. The keeper probably should have done better, but it was a great shot anyway. And lovely from Tavernier and Czerny. We went 2-0 up on the 31st minute with Czerny scoring. Still were trying to work the ball down the right out their half. It was poor passing, but good pressing from us. Czerny robs the defender of the ball. He drives the ball to the edge of the box. He shows strength to shrug off the defender and has a lovely curling effort into the bottom right corner. What a goal, Dave.
Fantastic goal, yeah. And that's what we're looking for from him, isn't it? We're looking for him to get forward and get an eye for goal, because we've been crying out for people to shoot outside the box, haven't we? And it's something that he looks to do all the time. And he has scored some excellent goals for us recently, and that certainly was one of them.
Yep. Into the second half, Lawrence had to come off injured and Diomande came on. He picked up a slight injury just towards the end of the half where he turned the opposition player and he got a bad knock in the knee. So we were a bit worried about that, because he has... Obviously, he's got deficiencies in his play, but certainly going forward when he wants to anyway, and he's got a great peg on him as well, is pretty good. So, worrying that. We did go 3-0 up though on the 55th minute with Czerny scoring another one, a fantastic individual goal. It all starts with Butland out of defence. He played it to the right to Tavernier, who has a header, flick to Diomande, who plays a ball to Czerny at the right, who takes the ball about 35-40 yards, drifting into the centre, gets into the box, cuts inside to beat the defender and shoots into the net. An absolute stunning goal, and that kind of goal goes back to the Gerrard European days where we work the ball very quickly from the back all the way up front, and there was a lot of individual play from Czerny there, but it was the way it was a team goal and then ended in an individual play. It was fantastic to see. That's what the kind of play we want, and I will get into the next game with St Mirren. Maybe Europe allows us to play a wee bit more expansive like that, because we're not constantly getting bogged down by, park the bus football.
You're right, it was like that. I think at that stage, though, their defence was kind of all over the place. They had one defender that was really kind of stuck. It was basically like a mirror image a lot of the time when we're watching Rangers in defence, the way that I watched them. They had one main centre half who was trying to cover 2 and 3 people at the one time, and thankfully Czerny was able to spot that and go through and hit them. He kind of knew what their weakness was, but a fantastic goal for him, an excellent finish again. And again, he only had one thing on his mind as soon as he picked that ball up, that he was going to get in and about the box. He was going to have a shot, and thankfully a fantastic effort and a great goal.
Yeah, a bit of controversy during the goal and just after it as well, because Dessers walked straight up the tunnel and he looked as if he had been given a talking to by Clement as well. I don't know obviously what was said at the time, and he looked as if he was crying as well. Now, he did pick up a wee injury a few minutes before the goal, and he looked to have got a finger in the eye or something like that, so I don't know if it was something to do with that. Clement did come out and say afterwards he was involved in that, and then obviously something during the goal as well, and he couldn't see properly, and he, instead of just going down and waiting to be substituted off injured, then he just went straight up the tunnel. So I don't know, we'll give him a wee bit of leeway there, because it might be a wee bit panicky if he can't see that, but he's seen his way up the tunnel quick enough. So yeah, I don't know, it was a very strange situation there. Iggeman came on for him in the 57th minute. He wasn't even dressed at all, ready to come on, so he left us in a wee bit of lurch there. So not the smartest of play from Dessers, but apparently the manager had a word with him, and he took it on board. So a bit strange that, Dave.
Well, the whole situation was bizarre, because to me it looked as if he'd storming up the tunnel really annoyed, upset more than upset, as in he was injured or something happened. That's what it looked like to me. It looked to me at first as if he'd taken the huff with something and he'd just decided to walk off. Obviously, you wouldn't think a professional player would do that, but I don't know. It was just a very, very bizarre situation, wasn't it?
Yep. Balogun came off and Proper came on in the 68th minute. Balogun might have picked up a slight knock as well. And on the 72nd minute, Igman gets his first goal for Rangers, so a great substitution all in.
Yeah.
But Barron, with lots of tenacity, win the ball back in midfield. He robs the player, slides the ball to Igman, who gets the ball into the box, shimmies each way and hits a shot into the net. Just a fantastic goal all round. Really good play from Igman and a good way to open his tally.
Yep, again, that poor defender was caught because he had two men with him. I didn't know, you could see he was in two minds. I think Igman was going to pass the ball or go for it himself, but thankfully he went for it himself, and great for him to get off the mark for Rangers, especially at home. And I think the vast majority were really all hoping that was going to be him starting to kick on from there.
Yep. 74th minute, Barami and Tierney off Lovelace and Casawanyiro on. So once again, Clermont can't keep a player who's on 2 goals on to get his third goal. So, but really, that's how the game ended up. A few more chances from us, a couple of chances for Stour. Certainly that was good to see from us. We're 4-0 up in Europe and at home, and we're still going for goals right to the last minute. Granted, Stour as well, they never closed up shop. They were still going for it as well, leaving the gaps. So, and interesting from there. And as you said, Dave, Stour I don't think were anything special. But at the same time, you look at them in Europe, I think they'd had 2 or 3 wins at that point and doing well in their home league as well. You can't write them off as just a bad team. I think it was a combination of them not being very great, poor up front as well, and us being really dominant and on top. And however, Dave, as I said in the post-match and subsequent post-matches as well, I wasn't getting overexcited about that, because even though it was a really, really good performance, it was a great result, really happy with that, I couldn't trust the players to then follow that up the next game in the league. And that's exactly what happened, even though we got the win. So that next game was on Sunday, the 22nd of October. It was a 2-1 win at home against St Mirren in the Premiership. But Dave, it was an absolute slog again.
It was turgid. Again, turgid. Really hard to watch, really frustrating, and one of those games where we were top of the league, Derek, or we were neck and neck with Celtic, we would be saying fantastic, we're not playing well, but we're getting the win. But as you say, the way things are at the moment, we are just looking for signs of improvement and constant improvement, and it's just not happening, is it?
No. And obviously the big talking point from the starting lineup is no Tavernier. He was dropped for Casawanyiro, and Dessers was dropped for Igman as well. So really, really interesting that. It
was, and at this stage I'm saying to myself, fair enough, Igman gets his first goal in the last game. Dessers hasn't kicked his own arse for a long time. He's been very, very poor. Everything that happened in the last game, I thought, this is excellent. Is this going to be Igman's time to shine now? That's what I think we were all looking for. Everybody was calling for it. The thing with Tav, I thought to myself, is the manager now starting to bow to a bit of fan pressure, which I am not a fan of. Maybe it was just me and I'm reading the situation wrong, but there had been a lot of talk and a lot of the fans saying, why the hell's Tav still playing and stuff like that, as Tav is like a constant topic with the fans. And I thought to myself, is this the manager starting to bow to a wee bit of pressure from the fans? I don't know if you thought that, Derek, or you just thought, he was being pragmatic and it was just purely football reasons, and he was giving the two of them a rest or whatever, and we should be beating St Mirren at home, no problems, and using the squad. I don't know. It was that's just the way that I was thinking about it.
Well, I hoped it was the start of him try to take Tav out the limelight and give other people a chance, especially when Tav hasn't been playing great. He's been woeful, to be honest. However, I think he did confirm afterwards that he was just giving him a rest because we've got a lot of games coming up and we can't afford to have players playing like 3 games a week.
I've got another question for you though. If that is the case, why are we not playing the natural replacement who has just signed a new extension to his contract in his natural position, rather than playing the guy that we've got on loan that can play just about anywhere? Why is Sterling no one there at right back who should be the natural succession to that one? That is another puzzler to me as well. I don't know if you were thinking the same thing as well, or you just thought Casawanyiro has played well a few times in Europe at left back. he's got him in at right back now. But I'm starting to really question everything now, and I don't know if I should be or I shouldn't be. I'm starting to turn into, like the vast majority of fans out there. But there's certain things now that I'm finding very strange about the lineup, about certain players getting picked, and I don't know if you're the same as me or not.
Well, we will get into it after the Aberdeen game, Dave, because I think we need to have a post-mortem of the actual squad just now. But it started off well. 13th minute, Diomande puts us a goal up. Barami on the left side after picking up a cross from the right, cuts it back into the centre just outside the box for Raskin, who shoots first time, comes off Diomande, deflected off the keeper. Diomande picks up the loose ball and puts it into the back of net. Certainly a bit of fortune, but good awareness from Diomande, and it was arguably against the run of play as well. St Mirren had started off the better of the sides as well.
Yeah, they had. But again, as you've said for a long time, see what happens when you actually take a shot at goal. Sometimes it might be off, but it can take a deflection and end up coming back, and you get a simple tap in, like what happened there. So I was just pleased that we were actually, even it was against, I don't know if against the running play. St Mirren had certainly had a good bit of the ball, but I was just pleased that we actually went for it, and we had a midfielder, especially in the absence of Lawrence and Diomande, that had the initial shot, and then it's obviously came back, and he's been able to tap it in. So I was really pleased at that.
However, on the 26th minute, St Mirren drew level. It was a corner from the left, right to the centre, a defender with a powerful header, unmarked into the net. Just really, really poor that from there. Proper at this point had already slipped twice. He was the one that should have been picking up that guy. It was nowhere to be seen. Just another poor goal to lose, Dave.
Alex Gogic is a player, and you can see quite clearly that he is their number one target man any time that there is any set pieces. He's the biggest guy there. So there should be somebody on him from the moment that he runs to the moment his feet leave the air to try and get on the end of it. And as you quite rightly said there, we had absolutely no one. It was actually a really piss easy goal for a guy who's done that time and time again to teams to do that. At home, it was just criminal defending the whole way.
St Mirren really had the better of the play. I would have said after that, we had a couple of half chances across that hit off the top of the bar. Barami hits the side net, and Cherny makes the keeper make a half save. And really, there's not a lot I can say because we were powder puff up front, and that's the problem. Our midfield's non-existent, our defence is leaky, and we're non-existent up front. And that's a theme throughout several games. We'll get into that with the Aberdeen game as well. There was nothing to write home about. Into the second half, Eggman came off and Dessers came on. St Mirren had the ball at the back of the net on the 50th minute, but it was flagged for offside. The VAR check did confirm that was the case, but we were caught in a very high line and a long ball over the top of the defence again. We were caught out. 59th minute, Proper was robbed at the near post. The ball was cut back and a shot and angle and saved at the near post and out for the corner. Again, this is another feature. We make mistakes. We nearly get punished for it, or they put our keeper under pressure. When the opposition make mistakes, we're not doing the same. It's pathetic.
I was actually just about to say the exact words. As soon as you said that, they're exactly the same.
Yep. On the 61st minute, Proper finally got substituted off. Tavernier came on, so Tavernier slotted into right back, Casawanyiro into centre back. Proper, we said it in the last podcast, Dave, I think, that he has shown absolutely nothing so far. We've spent a good deal of money on him, I think. He was meant to be the replacement for Goldson, and nothing has shown me that he is a proper footballer, ironically there with his name. And that was certainly his worst game in a Rangers shirt there, Dave. He
couldn't keep his feet during the game. He looked slow. He just looked as if he was completely off it. Certainly going up against big Alex Gogic, he was battering him about, and I don't know if it was just something that happened early on that just stuck with him for the rest of the game. But as you say, he was really, really poor, and quite rightly, St Mirren had been targeting him, for anything. They were making sure that the big players were getting all their attention on him when they were going forward. So a good decision by the manager to take him off. And to be fair to Casawanyiro, I actually thought he played really well at centre half when Proper went off. I don't know if it's just because Proper had been playing that poorly that anyone in there that was looking better was going to look much improved. But I thought he'd done well when he got moved into that position.
I mean, at this point, there was plenty of possession, but we were doing nothing with it as usual. However, up steps that man, Czerny, and scores to make it 2-1 on the 69th minute. We went down the left, it was cut back to Dessers, who was going forward. He flicks it up over the defender, gets to the touchline, cuts it back to Czerny, who slides it into the net. Absolutely superb from Dessers there. I know we criticise him quite a lot, but that was brilliant there from Dessers. This is what's so frustrating about him, is the fact that he has got something in his locker. He's just so hesitant at times. He's so on and off with his play. He's an absolute enigma. Really annoyed because he has got something there. But we've got to give Czerny praise once again. Brilliant.
Yeah, aye, definitely. You know, it was great play by Dessers. And I think when we're talking about Dessers, Derek, you know how much I go on about him and how much he frustrates me. But sometimes his best performances are the time that he's really impacted Rangers is when he's came off the bench. So I don't know if that's something going forward. Unfortunately, we've not got the squad to support that. And, 9 times out of 10, it's always him that's up front. But can he take that goal away from him? The build-up play was excellent, and Czerny in the right place at the right time to pop the ball into the back of the net, and at a crucial time for us as well.
Yeah, because you kind of thought, where's a goal coming from? We're dropping another couple of points.
Yep.
81st minute, there was a nice move with a long ball to the left to Barami, a lovely ball back to the right into the box to Czerny, who has a touch, opens up, hits a shot, and an absolutely fantastic save out for the corner by the keeper. That really deserved the goal, that one there. 85th minute, Barron off, Sterling on. 88th minute, Czerny off, McCausland on. And at a bizarre moment on the 96th minute, and just before the full-time whistle, Dessers gets the ball in the box. The keeper comes out, dives at Dessers' feet. Dessers goes down. The play goes on. We get a shot, but it was blocked. There was a VAR check, and the referee, I think, bottled it because he blew for the full-time whistle there. On the replay as well, it's really inconclusive. I think there was maybe a slight touch. Again, not enough to go down. So, Dessers, he had rounded the keeper already. Why did he have to go down?
I cannot figure the guy out at all. I don't know what goes through his head. At a loss to that one.
So, we got the 3 points, and usually would think, right, if we've played bad, we've still got the 3 points, that's a good sign. But Dave, this is becoming the norm with us. You can get away with that so often if you're playing well and you're winning, and then you have the odd result where you play badly and you're still winning. That's not the sign of a good team when you're constantly struggling to beat teams, struggling to break them down, struggling to score. But we'll get into the next game anyway. The game last night, and it was an absolute shit show. Wednesday the 30th of October. It was a 2-1 loss away against Aberdeen in the Premiership. Dave, I am going to talk about a couple of things in this game because it was utter dog meat, the whole game. Yep. 20 minutes we played well for, and the rest of it, there's nothing to talk about.
Yep.
So Tavernier came back into the squad, as did Dessers. Jeffrey, though, was left on the bench. And who was put in his place?
Cassawanyiro at left back.
Yes. Don't get that, Dave, at all. Jeffrey, a player who's actually generally on form, and they put Cassawanyiro on. Nothing against Cassawanyiro, but why drop one of your more consistent performing players?
What I glossed over on the post-match last night was what the manager had gave as the reason for him being on the bench. Now, he basically said Czerny, who we were desperate to play, had a slight muscle injury and didn't make the game. And then he basically said that Jeffrey also had a slight knock, so that's why he was on the bench. I thought that was very strange also. He's either fit enough to play or he's not, considering how big this game was. So I don't know if he was thinking it more of a defensive change to try and shore us up at the back a bit more, but certainly it didn't work, because I actually thought Cassawanyiro had one of his worst games that we've seen him play for us last night.
I'm not going to go into the game at great depth. I think we started off fairly well the first maybe 5-10 minutes, as we sometimes normally do, and then we just completely dropped off. Aberdeen had a big chance going 1v1. Maybe a bit of controversy on the 27th minute there. The stunning through ball by Aberdeen ended in Balogun sliding in. I thought it was going to be a red card all day long, but he did actually get a slight touch to the ball. Great spot by the referee, that one there. And then on the 31st minute, Aberdeen went 1-0 up. It was a cross in from the right after Raskin turned inside and out, a header into the back post and shot in. It was just so simple, and at that point it had been coming because Aberdeen were absolutely peppering our box. They just couldn't get our way through, but we were doing absolutely nothing, getting completely overrun in midfield. Our defence were, as much as they weren't getting through to Butland a lot of the time, they were just all over the shop, and our attack, don't even mention them because we're non-existent. And as I said, it had been coming. Such a simple goal. Raskin absolutely skinned, head on at the back post and a simple shot. It was pathetic, Dave.
Yep, defending was totally lacklustre. Midfield, totally powder puff. And as you say, absolutely nothing up front. None of our forward players offering anything whatsoever.
Yep. Just after the goal, we got away with one because in the 33rd minute, Aberdeen hit a long shot and it hit off the post. Butland was completely beaten as well. And then on the 35th minute, a long VAR check with the ref going to the screen after a shot comes off the arm of Suter in the box. Suter was stooping down to header it and his arm was by his side. A penalty was given. I felt it was completely harsh, Dave. I don't know where he's meant to put his arm from that. Yes, did it stop the path of the ball? Yes, but under the new rules that Willie Collum meant to have set out, his arm was down by his side, so where is he meant to put his arm?
Exactly, yeah.
All I can say is, it was harsh on Suter, and under the new rules, it shouldn't have stood. But how come it's always Suter? He must be the most unluckiest player ever. He maybe needs to start adjusting the way he moves his body now, because it's always him, Dave.
It used to be Goldson, but as you say, it has been with Suter. I thought it was very harsh at the time, very harsh, because like you, I thought these new rules, surely he can see that he can't do anything with his arm. But as soon as you saw that he was going to the monitor, you just knew that they were going to get the penalty awarded, didn't you?
Yeah. And I mean, Behind the Whistles podcast as well, I sometimes listening to that, they tweeted last night as well that, under previous IFAB rules that is probably unfairly, but it is a penalty. However, they did say that under Willie Collum's new rules, they were meant to be stopping this kind of thing. It isn't. So, however, on the 39th minute, that shows you how long it taken to get it sorted out. On the 39th minute, Butland saved the penalty. In fairness, though, it was a really poor penalty. It was hit low to the ground, not at a great pace, and it was a fairly easy save for Butland. But he still has to dive the right way anyway. So,
delighted,
But that didn't stop Aberdeen because they kept on playing. We never really offered much, apart from on the 47th minute, we had the ball in the back of the net after a long ball down the left. Dessers held it up, cuts it back, a cross in, and McCausland taps it into an empty net. It was flagged for offside straight away. The VAR check taken ages, and it was deemed that Dessers' shoulder was apparently offside. However, Dave, several issues with that for me because, one, it's a shoulder. It was in the first phase of that attack, so there was another phase after that because Dessers got the ball and then he passed over. There was a wee bit of play after that, so it was in the initial phase, so I'm not sure they can do that. And as well, the Behind the Whistles podcast did highlight in a couple of episodes ago about the fact that in Scotland we use the broadcast cameras for the VAR checks and drawing lines. Now, because of the way that the broadcast cameras work, not like they've got in down south in the EPL, the actual phases of the lines, because of the way the lines are drawn, they're sometimes out of sync. So, given the fact that it was a ball hair's width of an offside, how can you even say that that was offside? Because it looked in line to me.
I am still baffled by the decision because I watched, and initially I thought it was either Barami that was offside because it was him that cut the ball back. Then I thought it must be McCausland. He must have been offside. I looked at that. No, it wasn't. Still didn't know what it was. Took it back. And I still can't see any part of Dessers as being offside. I really can't. I can't see it. I said in the post-match last night that if he was offside, it must have been like a hair length that he was off. But going back and seeing it obviously again on social media, seeing it again on the TV, the lines that were drawn, I still don't see where he was offside at all. So it was a shocking decision. That for me could have been crucial because getting a goal just before half time would knock the wind right out of a team that were dominating in a game. So I honestly think that we were treated incredibly harsh there and that goal should have stood 100%.
Yep. So into half-time, McCausland came off, Sterling came on. On the 47th minute, we got the first corner of the game for us. That's a disgrace, Dave, the fact that 47 minutes first corner. However, on the 63rd minute, Barami draws us level at 1 each, kind of out of nowhere as well. The ball on the left side to Barami from midfield. He gets into the box, starts cutting inside, using strength to beat the players, and hits a shot into the bottom right corner. A brilliant goal, reminiscent of Czerny there as well. So picking up his mantle when he's not in the team, which was really, really good goal to see.
Excellent goal, and that's the type of player I think that's what the manager's looking for Barami to be able to do for us, is just get a goal out of absolutely nothing. And it was a fantastic goal. Power, accuracy, tremendous goal at that stage. And when it got to that point, because that was the period of play that we were getting back into the game, I'm not going to say that we were excellent. I'm not going to say, like the manager did, that it was one of the better performances at that stage. Of course we were going for it because we were so poor in the first half. Something had to change. So we were pressing more than we did in the first half, but we never pressed at all in the first half. So anything at all was going to be an improvement on the first half. And we were in the ascendancy at that stage, and we got the goal. And I genuinely thought there, okay, if they can just up this slightly, we're going to create more and more chances. And a huge opportunity missed straight after that. Basically, 5 minutes after that, Rangers get down the right-hand side, and there's James Tavernier. And, you know, we usually have a go at Tav, especially recently, for poor balls in, but it was the ball across the deck. It was missed by Lawrence coming into the front post, and the ball falls perfectly to Dessers. All he's got to do is hit the ball first time, 6-yard box. I'm sure it would have been a goal, but Dessers, being Dessers, has to take a touch and completely fucks it up. It's a bad touch by him on his, I don't know if he was trying to cushion it with his left foot to shoot with his right foot or vice versa. I can't remember, but I just remember that it was just a gilt-edged chance right in the middle of the goal, and we should have been 2-1 up at that stage. And I think if that had fallen to nearly anybody else in that team, they would have hit it first time. I don't know what he was thinking. Again, I was tearing my hair out with him last night.
And then after that, we just seemed to fall off. We had about 20-minute spell, kind of 50 to 70th minute, where it was relatively all our play. And then we just fell off. 74th minute, Aberdeen had a thunder bastard from the edge of the box, a great save from Butland. And then in that same minute, I think it all stemmed from that corner. Yeah. We cleared that initially, not very well though. And we had numerous opportunities to clear. We didn't, and it ended in the ball down the left in the box. Tavernier absolutely caught, because I think he tries to play the ball, it hits off him rather than anything. It was stabbed goal bound through the legs of Butland at his near post from close range, at a tight angle as well. It rolls across the line, off the post, and then hits out to the Aberdeen player who blasts it into the net. A calamity of errors once again. Tavernier, just don't get me started, because in the first phase of play, he was kind of caught in two minds where to go for the ball. So it ended up it just hit off him from there. And the fact that Butland once again getting beat at his near post at close range through his legs, what is it with him at close range, kind of at his near post? He just seems to have that blind side there through his legs. Yes, a bit of fortune hitting off the post, but why have we not got defenders picking up balls like that, Dave?
First of all, I made a mistake on the pod last night. I was blaming Raskin at the byline when it was actually James Tavernier. James Tavernier should have dealt with that straight away. He should have just whacked the ball out clear. I don't know what he was thinking. He tried to cushion it. It didn't control it. It ran. It stopped. Just absolutely diabolical. But as you say, then it wasn't even a rasping shot. It was like more a sort of hopeful toe poke towards goal, and you're expecting the goalkeeper just to get down and block that, for it to go through like that, and then it hits the post. But we've still got players on the line. You're expecting somebody just to throw themselves at it, but it just seemed to be your defenders were in slow motion, and it allowed the Aberdeen substitute that just came on just to fire it into the back of the net. It was just a complete and utter shit show in defence from the players and the goalkeeper.
Yep. And then it was just all Aberdeen again from there. Barami and Lawrence came off, Hadji and Jeffy on. 83rd minute, Dessers came off and Egeman came on. what the hell was Dessers doing on the pitch for so long? When you've got Igman there, gives you something a wee bit differently. Dessers had done absolutely nothing all game. Granted, he hadn't had the service because midfield was just getting overrun all the time. I just don't get the manager's
Derek,
thinking.
He should have been hooked after that howler of a miss that I went over there just after we scored. He should have been hooked for that. That was a criminal miss from any striker then and there. He had done nothing all game. He'd offered us absolutely nothing. And then the one clear-cut opportunity, and it was clear-cut. It was as clear-cut as you get. He completely made a total hash it. And that's when the manager should have said, right, it's not happening for him at all. He's just no up for this. It's no his game. I'll take him off. But it didn't. And I said that again in the post-match last night. How he managed to stay on the field so long after doing absolutely nothing was beyond me.
So we lost the game, quite rightly. A lot of people calling for Clermont to go, and I'm one of them, Dave, because losing games, especially to rivals, especially when you're playing bad, is one thing. And I've defended him because when he first came in, there was a defined style of play. He'd got something out the players. And I don't give into this whole it's the new manager bounce thing, because that normally lasts maybe a month, 2 months at most. It lasted for multiple months, 5-6 months. We got to the top of the league, and then something changed within the team because we stopped doing everything that we were doing to get us in that position. Yes, I know last year Celtic had a wobble. That's largely what got us down there as well. But we had to keep up our end of the bargain and win games. And we just stopped doing everything. And it's continued on this season, even with largely new players. So that's one thing. But then when he continually now comes out and tries to defend players. Now, I don't know if he's doing it to defend players, or I don't know if he's actually really believing it. And I don't know what's worse in that case there, because he's coming away with things like you've kind of highlighted, Dave. That was one of the better performances we've played last night of this season. Absolutely nonsense, because we played fairly decently for about 20 minutes. The rest of it was garbage. Then when he comes out, I think, did we get beat or drew, had a bad result the game after we played Ross County? Oh, but we got scored 6 goals against Ross County. Then he comes out with nonsense about stats when we drew again. Dave, he's done that once too often now. And I can't defend that anymore. And then with the actual team, with the players, they just don't look as if they have been told how to play. A good instance of that is several times now you see players bumping into each other because they're going for the same ball. You see several instances of when the opposition's got attacks, then when they're near our box, several players run towards the ball and completely forget about where they're meant to be marking. And that's how a lot of goals are scored, because we're not picking up players. The players just don't seem as if they've been coached. There just seems to be nothing in the team just now. There is no consistency. We can play well one game, which is not the usual. That's the exception. And then generally we can be bad to average. Dave, we can't keep going on like this. There are several players. What's happened to them? Butland, we've already highlighted them. Tavernier is just garbage now. I've always had reservations about him, especially defensively. And before you had his forward play to kind of compensate for that, but you've not even got that now.
Yeah.
Suter, again, he's not a long-term solution. He's always got a clanger in him. He's always this unlucky player. Balogun, he's in his late 30s now. We can't rely on him. Casavaniro played out of position. Barron, he's been asked to do a hell of a lot, and a lot of people are criticising him, saying that he's not great. I think he's been probably the standout player this season so far. He's been asked to do too much, though, in a midfield that's completely non-existent half the time. Raskin, he's always injured. Lawrence, he started to score goals, right, fine, but he does nothing else. McCausland,
he does nothing else. If he doesn't get a goal, he's an empty shirt. Yeah, basically.
McCausland, he's a squad player at best. Barami, yes, there's something there. Dessers, we've already spoke about him. Kelly, granted, he's a sub-keeper. Proper, not a player for me. Diamande, one of Clermont's signings, he's neither here nor there just now. Dowell, don't get me started. Sterling, never getting a game, and when he does get a game, he's never played in the same position twice. Jefte, again, one of the standouts. Egeman, we've protected this player for so long. Hadji, obvious issues there. Lovelace just coming back for injury. How many times is Clermont going to use the excuse, oh, we've got a bunch of new players, we're trying to bed them in, they've came from it, we've got... No. How come Celtic can be in the exact same league? They bedded in lots of new players more or less straight away and they've hit the ground running. How come they can do it? How come other teams can do it and we can't? We need to wrap the players in cotton wool first. Dave, I'm not giving into this anymore. It's nonsense, and this is why, for me, Clermont has to go. However, we've not got an executive structure there anymore to actually do that kind of thing.
No, and that is a big problem for us, because who do we have to make these big decisions now at the club? I was raging last night. I was saying exactly the same thing that you are. We can't go on any further. But the longer that it's went on and the more that I've been thinking about this, I think to myself, how is it going to happen? We signed a new contract. We keep getting told that we don't have any money. We've got major problems financially. I'm sure you're going to get into the news about the financial reports that are coming out. So can we afford to sack the manager? If so, who do we get to come in that's going to do something with these players? Because apart from maybe 2 players in that squad, Derek, I think the rest of them are just not up to it whatsoever. And I don't even think bloody Pep Guardiola would get the best out of some of these players that we've got in the team. I think it's really quite worrying how evident the team misses the likes of John Lundstrom in the team, who, when Clermont first came in, was absolutely outstanding for him in those games, that we went on that run. He fell off at the end, as a lot of other players did, but he's not been able to replace the likes of him. And that's actually the area of the team that I think that we need the most. We don't have a dominant midfielder at all that can take the ball and move forward with the ball and get things started. We've got a bunch of busy players in there that really don't look as if they can hold a position or know what position to go into. I know what you were saying about Barron, but he is just a young player. Everybody's been clambering for Raskin to come back. I think Raskin was absolutely god-awful last night. He just looked completely lost. Offered us absolutely nothing. He doesn't do anything going forward. He did have one opportunity that he managed to get into the box, and it was a powder puff shot straight at the goalkeeper. He panicked, I think, when he got into the box. There's just far too many passengers in the team now, and there's not one area in the pitch that you can say that we are dominant in. We get the odd flash for Czerny and Barami and Lawrence, and it's goals that are coming out in nothing rather than constant pressure and us doing it, time and time again. The fact that game last night, Aberdeen, apparently, that's the most shots that we've had against us in a first half in something like 14 years or something like that. It was just criminal. And we were just so poor and so lacklustre. And I honestly don't know how any manager is going to get better out of the players that we've got in there. I mean, do you think that by the manager going, that there could be an interim solution for somebody to come in and basically turn the squad round and get us back challenging again?
Dave, I do, because last night it was quite clear that the players are just bereft of any guidance by the look of it, because they're all running for the same ball, bumping into each other. There doesn't seem to be any cohesion within the team, and we're failing to do the basics. It literally is the basics. Do not tell me that Aberdeen are some amazing team. And I know you said that Aberdeen are not a great team, and somebody did make a comment on our YouTube last night. Yes, they were the better team last night, but they never done anything out of the ordinary. That's what the main point is. They weren't world beaters last night. They were organised and they done the basics well, and we couldn't cope with that for some weird reason. And if we can get the players doing the basics right, we're not going to get beat against Kilmarnock, are we?
What has changed for the manager coming in last season and getting us organised and getting us... What has suddenly changed, do you think? And I'm talking about the manager. I'm talking about... Because we've never seen a specific... people going all the time about, we don't really see a style of football. I didn't really see a style of football under Beale that was puzzling. But it just seems to be a constant rotation. It looked as if the players chucked it when Van Bronckhorst, just before he was sacked. The players chucked it again. Beale, that was just a disastrous signing for us complete disaster. And I think a lot of the problems that we're having now are coming from that. But it just feels like a constant cycle here of the players just look bereft of anything, and it's just happening over and over again, and we need to find some way of stopping that. And I just want to know how the manager could suddenly go from getting the players looking organised back to winning games and looking like a force like he did last year to this complete shit show that we've got now.
I don't know, Dave, because I've heard a few rumours that there's a few players unhappy and that they've got the attitude, we'll outlast Clermont, and they're the troublemakers that you need to get rid of. I've also, somebody tweeted us tonight as well that they had heard a rumour that Clermont wanted to renegotiate player bonuses regards the wins and the loyalty bonuses. It didn't go down well with the players and they effectively downed tools. It was led by 3 individual players. 2 of them have now left, but the legacy of that still goes on.
But that doesn't make sense. Why would a manager become involved in that rather than...
Because, Dave, we've got nobody left. There is absolutely nobody. If you remember when the likes of the CEO left and the director of football left, the comms from the club came out and said that Clermont and Coppin are going to get involved in that kind of thing. So it's acting like Football Manager with Rangers just now. You've got 1 or 2 guys dealing with a whole executive structure of it, and that's why it's a shambles, because the players obviously are seeing this internally, that the fact that the executive structure is non-existent, they can have their way with anybody because there's nobody to answer to. I think that's part of the problem. And if that is the case, where the manager or his team have went in and tried to renegotiate bonuses, whether it's good or bad, and the players have not been happy with that can easily kind of filter down. Anyway, we're kind of getting bogged down with that because we could continue like that all night about the reasons why. The next games we've got coming up, Sunday the 3rd of November at Hampden against Motherwell. That's a League Cup semi-final at 1500 hours. That's, again, another vital game. You lose that and you've lost a trophy. The next game, Thursday the 7th of November, away to Olympiacos. That's Europa League Game 4. That's a 17:45 kickoff. I'll miss that one because I'm away at a gig that night. Dave, I don't care about Europe now. This is not about Europe this season. This is clearly just about the Premiership. We need to claw back as many points as we can.
It is, but we do need to fight on all fronts. And Europe is a way of us getting extra income, Derek. So I think it is important. Don't get me wrong, it's not as important as us, being up challenging in the league domestically. I get that, but I do still think it is important for the club because I think we really do need to qualify to try and get some cash back into the team because we're struggling financially as well.
Sunday the 10th of November, home against Hearts in the Premiership. That's a 5 o'clock kickoff. Saturday the 23rd of November, at home against Dundee United in the Premiership. That's another 3 o'clock kickoff. And to round out November, Thursday the 28th of November, away against Nice, and that's in Game 5 of the Europa League. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff. So loads of important games as ever, and we'll take them as they were.
Well, we used to sit here and say 3 or 4 games that we're really expecting to win, stuff like that. Now we're just completely baffled because we don't know what we're going to get. So, one game at a time.
Because what will happen is we'll maybe scrape by against Motherwell, we'll win against Olympiacos, and then we'll be all kind of G'd up for the next game against Hearts, and we'll lose, and then we'll draw against Dundee United, we'll win against Nice, and then it'll be the same continuous cycle. That's I know. Yeah. You can probably tell listeners I am pissed off at this point. Anyway,
oh dear.
We will go down the tunnel. No, we won't. We'll go into the news.
Did he go down the tunnel again? I don't think I can handle that.
No. So, not a great deal to cover, but we'll obviously get into the nuts and bolts of the finances shortly. However, in mid-October, John Gilligan gave an update via statement, so it was actually quite good communications for a change, something that he was going to try and sort, which he said. He thanked the fans for the patience during the stadium work issues, praised the facilities now. He then rightly had a go at the supporters with the flares during the Lyon game, and he outlined the cost to the club and the consequences of that. He talked about the club being leaderless, but he confirmed that him and George Latham are steering the ship, and they'll be appointing an executive position soon. The plans for the January transfer window are well underway. The Fans Advisory Board notes from the meeting they had the previous week came out. Gilligan confirmed that the chairman role will be appointed first before the CEO, and they will be based in Scotland. He confirmed that the CEO role is more complex, and they've been using a recruitment agency to assist, which we all kind of knew was the case. The Copeland works were also discussed as well, and Gilligan suggested that in future works of that magnitude may force the club to plan to go without the stadium for a period, and doubts even if the materials were in place that the works would have been finished by the deadline. I'm sorry, Dave, that's utter nonsense. As soon as the materials arrived, the work got done in jig time. Yeah. They even put out a statement saying since the steel arrived that they were actually ahead of schedule, and you've seen that they opened the stadium quicker than they thought.
Yes.
We've got wealthy shareholders. I'm sure even some of them own warehouses in Scotland or the UK. Get the stuff stored in there, or pay for it to be stored somewhere in Scotland or in the UK. Now Gilligan has thrown doubt into whether the Broomland will be getting done next summer as well, stating that we must start the season at Ibrox. Of course we need to start the season at Ibrox given what happened. However, we need to get the Broomland works sorted as well, because the stadium works need to get done ultimately. And I know people were complaining about that and the waste of money. No, it wasn't a waste of money. It was just poorly organised, and we still don't know the nuts and bolts of how that came about. So, yeah, we'll wait and see whether that actually goes ahead or not.
Yeah.
He also confirmed that the AGM will not be in New Edmondson House. So, we all knew, Dave, it was far too small, and there's been several other instances where I think the Player of the Year dinners are not getting held in there anymore or something like that. There's other major events that were meant to be getting held in there are now no longer. Another shambles, Dave. The fact that we all seen that it was going to be too small. I love the idea of it. It just had to be a lot bigger.
Yeah, I know. That was huge reasons why it was getting built in the first place, so that it was going to be in-house. And it's, as you say, it's great for certain events that are going, but it's just nowhere near the size that's required for these events. And again, down to poor planning, I think.
Yep. Next thing here is that we have signed an extension with the partnership with Boxed. So I'm sure I heard that it was a similar uplift in money we're getting in for that as the 32 Red deal. So good that one there, because we'll need it. Because the accounts came out, Dave. Record revenue of 88.3 million. Record income of 94.2 million. Record commercial revenue of 67 million. Pre-player trading loss of £2 million. And we ended up having a net loss of £17 million, Dave. That is horrendous.
Absolutely horrendous. It's hard enough for the fans and everybody looking about how much that we're downgrading, and players that we're getting that are, I mean, substandard players, let's be perfectly honest with you. But if we could see that this, there was something positive to come out of that, especially financially, we might be able to cope with things a bit better. But to see that happening, it was just like having another huge slap in the face, wasn't it?
I think Celtic made a net profit of like 17 million. So, I mean, that's a massive swing. And this just shows you how vital Champions League qualification is. Now, see, if our net loss was about £2 million, I wouldn't be concerned, because the pre-player trading loss is £2 million. And there was a bit of jiggery-pokery, I think, with the club when it comes to that. I think it was listed as something like Lammers, Wright, and a couple of other players. We only got about £800,000 for them. So what's been reported in the media is we got multiple millions of pounds for them, which we couldn't believe at the time. Whether the club have been effectively saying that we got multiple millions for them and that was effectively writing off their wages to pay out their contract, I don't know, but certainly something was amiss there. Whether it was just a first part of instalments for players, who knows, Dave, because the accounts are written in such a way where they're legal, but they hide a lot of things as well. To me, it doesn't cover full expenses. There was obviously one-off costs as well, which doesn't fully go into it, but I think the elite settlement was in there, and it was explained by Andy McKellar that yes, that was, as much as that settlement figure was agreed post-accounting period, because it was known about that there was going to be something, that was going to be a liability there, it had to be included in this ridiculous accounts. The club are now spinning it, and I suppose it is the only one good thing that comes from the accounts, is that we're apparently litigation-free after a decade of claims. So, as I've said before, when it comes to the litigation around the merchandise deal, I'm not too concerned about that, because it was a legacy of dodgy deals by Charles Green, and it would have likely cost us money in terms of revenue made anyway from clear boycotts that were going on. So we would have had to pay that money either with a drop in revenue or with evident fines that we've had to do through litigation or compensation or whatever which way you want to put it. So hopefully that's the end of those type of one-off costs until somebody else rears their head about wanting money from us. But yeah, it's really concerning. We need to get involved in this player trading model, but with the way the club are playing just now, the way the squad are playing,
yes,
we've got no assets, and this is why I'm annoyed at the fact that, like Butland, we never tried to offload them in the summer. Maybe we did and there was no takers. I can't imagine that was the case, but I'm pretty sure Norwich came in, did they not, for a really ridiculous offer for a loan or something like that, and we told them to bolt and then it got upped. So I don't know. I think this is the problem, Dave. We want to be privy to everything. We're not going to be, because we are fans. Yes, we are their customers, we are fans, but we don't get to know a lot of stuff like that.
You hit the nail on the head there just a second ago. Realistically, what sellable assets, player-wise, do we actually have at the moment? I mean, is there any absolute standouts in the team that you could say, oh, well, we could put this player out there to try and raise some money? I really don't think there is. I don't know any top teams that would come in for any of our players for any amount of decent money at the moment. And that's really, really quite depressing. Hence the reason that we need fresh investment. We need somebody to come in. We need more people to get involved that can invest in the club. But because we are such a shambles in the background as well, it's just a cycle of, I keep saying the word shambles, but it is. And I can't see where it's going to end unless somebody does come in with fresh investment, or there is a complete change in the boardroom for the better and things start to go that way. But it looks very, very bleak just now.
I mean, this is the thing. We've got to be forever grateful for the money that has been put in by the board members, the likes of Bennett and all that. And I would dread to think where we would be just now if it wasn't for them. Yes, they have given us loans with interest payments, but it's an interest rate very favourable to the club. And as far as I'm aware, they are not looking to get their loan money back in instantly. They're giving us a wee bit of time for that. So that's one thing. But what they've got to understand is clearly they are not good at running a football club. So whether they actually want to then sell their shares to someone who is willing to keep the investment going and run the club better, then that's up to them. However, if you want to still keep your shareholdings and pump money in, by all means, please do that. But you need to take a step back and let proper people run the club, and that's where we've got to go. Whether it's external investment through other means, whether it's shareholding, whether it's the existing shareholders selling up. And you've got to remember, if they put their shares up for £10 million and they're selling their shares, whoever buys them are not putting that £10 million into the club. They are just literally buying the shares off that individual. So they still need to then find money to invest in the club. And that is going to be the big concern longer term, because if they sell up, you've got to hope the next buyer is going to be willing to put money into the club. So yeah, it's concerning that way. However, until we get an executive structure sorted out, I don't see how far we can go just now.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So the last couple of pieces of news I've got here, and it's kind of have to do with Rangers. Ryan Kent has had his contract terminated by Fenerbahce. Only mentioning this as some fans want him back. The reasoning is that he would improve this squad. Correct, he would be outstanding for this squad if we got Pete Kent. But I think some people have got a completely revisionist history of Ryan Kent, because he downed tools for at least a year and a half before he left us. So no, Brian Kent of that ilk wouldn't improve us one iota. It's the same with Steven Gerrard. He's reportedly about to be sacked from El Artefactor. I think that's how they're pronounced anyway. For him having poor results. And people are saying, bring him home. We want him back. No, he's been sacked from his last 2 clubs because of poor results.
Yeah.
You can understand maybe why he got sacked from a Premiership club, but he's got now about to get sacked from a Saudi Arabian club, Dave. And again, there's a complete revisionist history of what happened with him as well. I'm not going to say he downed tools, but something happened there. He was given a remit to get to the Champions League. He wanted to keep players. He got to keep his players. He failed in that remit. He never got given money on the back of that, and he jumped at the first chance he got. So you've got to thank him for things he done, but the way he left was not acceptable in the slightest. So, no, not bring him back either.
Regardless, Derek, I don't think he would come back in the state that the club are in at the moment, because he knows how difficult a position it is, and he knows that he needs a lot of money and basically a whole new team to be able to challenge. So I really don't think he would come back anyway, even if we did want him. And really, apart from Walter Smith, who was a one-off, you never ever go back in football and do what you've done. It's happened with Celtic basically because they're getting it all their own way and they know how bad the rest of the teams are, including us. But for us, it's I wouldn't say to have Steven Gerrard back. We need something completely different. But again, I don't know where that is going to come from at the moment.
Billy Davis, I've heard today as well.
David Martindale, that was another one that I heard as well. So I mean, at least we know that he would go absolutely tonto at the players if they played shite. Do you know what I mean? But it is a shambles, Derek, and there is no clear path out of it at the moment. I just hope that something out of the blue happens for the good that can set a chain reaction to get us a lot better than we are at the moment.
Yep. So, now to bring some cheer to the podcast with Fessel Corner.
Oh, thank goodness.
Christmas dinner many years ago, my very drunk and a bit loopy girlfriend announced that I had broken my banjo string a week before. When asked how, she replied, "We were trying anal in the shower." I will never forget her poor granddad shoveling his food round the plate with his fork.
Oh dear.
Had a wank sock growing up, which was an FC Porto sock. After many years, it started to smell like a custard cream biscuit.
Oh, yeah, it's disgusting.
I can't eat them anymore, but I do have a soft spot for FC Porto when I see them playing in the Champions League.
Oh, dearie dear.
My wife bought me a hospital-style piss bottle for Christmas last year so I wouldn't disturb her by getting up at night. It's the best thing ever. Pissing into it is an absolute joy.
What the fuck?
Have very thin walls with a neighbour. One noisy night while drunk, I decided to get my own back by farting bare-cheeked against the party wall. Now facing repainting the anaglypta as the unexpected explosion wiped off.
Oh, dear, dear.
Months ago, I was watching porn silently in the cubicle toilet at work. When I stood up, I dropped my phone. It went under the next cubicle. The person next door picked it up and started to laugh and handed it back under. I stayed there until they left.
Oh, God.
And the last one today. My wife and I like to play games of fart tennis when we're lying in bed on a weekend. Even though we've both sharted more than once, we'll never stop.
That's true love. That's true love, Derek. Definitely.
What a way to end a shit podcast with a shit story.
Exactly.
Yes. So I know it's been a bit rushed. It's been because we didn't want to do this, but we stuck in there, Dave. We can only hope things will get better, but it's the hope that kills you.
It is, and at this stage, I'm saying to myself, where is that coming from? And like I said, I think it's going to take something completely out of the blue for us to get back on track. But I can't see where that's coming from at the moment. So we'll just have to wait and see. We will all still be there. We will all be cheering on our team. We will all still be venting our anger on Twitter. We will all be doing whatever we can to get by when we're watching us. But again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yes. So all that's left to say is thanks for listening and goodbye.
Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.